Hello, everybody. This is Richie Greenberg, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Erica Sandberg. And this is Really San Francisco, the podcast that apparently is among the most popular in San Francisco that is San Francisco centric. We talk not just about news, we talk about controversy, politics, good stuff, bad stuff, parties, and all the happenings that are here in this wonderful city by the bay. And Erica, I just have to mention immediately for those viewers or listeners who don't see this, but the viewers, you're wearing something very chic. You're wearing a
Mhm,
what looks like a Panama hat. So,
mhm.
how about we go right into this and you explain why you're wearing this, why you're wearing a Panama hat?
Thank you, Rich. And I also want to point out to people who aren't watching this on video that you are wearing an opinion t-shirt, which I absolutely adore.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. I
like
just
we're
have
both kind of wearing
Yeah, I mean
interesting. I
it's
love
very
it.
simple. It's just a black T-shirt and it has some font. It has some just white lettering. It says opinion because,
Love it.
as most people know, and if not, Erica and I, but I write opinions. That's it. I have a lot of opinions. Opinions are good, and I think that having independent opinions on all sorts of subjects are really uh, helpful. They're a release, and I think that it's good part of conversation instead of, you know. Anyway, okay. Thanks for the
Okay.
t-shirt. Shut up.
Love it, love it.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the reasons that this podcast, this episode, is a little bit delayed. Normally, we do try to get one in on a weekly basis. Is I was out of the country. I was in Panama on a press trip. It was spectacular. As usual, though, if you only go for a few days, which I did, it was around 4 days, you only see a tiny sliver. And what I thought was amazing, it was really fabulous to be able to get out of San Francisco and do some compare contrasts. Panama City is very vibrant, very eclectic, and growing city that is kind of off the radar, I think, for a lot of people. So for me, it was a huge pleasure to be able to go down there and be with a bunch of other journalists and see what that city had to offer. And it's again, you see what they want you to see. Certainly, that's what a press tour is all
Curated, a
about.
curated tour. Press can
That's
get.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. But what I did see was um, very tall buildings. A lot of that is known as the vertical city because they built up and very controversial. And I did post about it afterwards. And I said, one of the things I did research while I was there is that did it drive down the cost of housing?
Mhm.
Because you see skyscraper after skyscraper after skyscraper, and it could be Singapore, it could be South Korea,
Hong
it could
Kong.
be Hong Kong, various
And,
other.
and
Mhm,
that's a really great topic because as we know here in San Francisco, this is a hot topic. The idea
mhm.
of needing to build, build, build. Some of the most extremist people here in the city talk about wanting to bulldoze the West Side, which is all one, two, or three-story private homes, and put up skyscrapers. Now we know that that's never going to happen, but other parts of San Francisco could. But the gist of what you're saying or you were inquiring is
Mhm.
if you took parts of San Francisco and just put up lots of skyscraper housing as opposed to offices, right? What did you find in Panama City by seeing that, by them doing
Right. I definitely interviewed as many people as I possibly could, from taxi drivers to our guide to people who worked at the hotel, you name it. And I said, these skyscrapers behind us, there's so many of them. Yes, nodding, there are. I said, has the cost of housing decreased since they were built? And they all laughed. Nobody said yes, everybody said no. So if you just, okay, that is one example, right? But I think it's worth knowing that the the rhetoric that we hear a lot, which is if we build tall, we build dense, then the cost of housing will decrease. Not necessarily. It depends on how it's done. Apparently in Austin, it did work. So it really depends. It depends on who's doing it, how, who's buying, who is it for,
And
all
right,
kinds of factors,
the
the pricing.
pricing,
So
and yeah, yeah.
yeah, so for me, it was just a little, it was illuminating, and I think it's really worth keeping that in your head when you hear people say, look, we have to have skyscrapers. It will do X, Y, and Z. Question it. Just simply question it. Because unless there's some sort of personal guarantee,
Hmm.
then it's worth, that opinion is worth nothing.
Hmm.
Absolutely nothing. It's
Hmm.
just theory. So, okay, on that, yes, I do have a
Yep.
Panama hat, and I have to say, it was on the expensive side. I did splurge on it. But one of the things that's so interesting about real, genuine Panama hats is that they're as light as a feather.
Oh,
I have a
the
other.
lightweight, the material, and
Oh my
yeah.
goodness, I swear it is as is lighter than a pencil.
Mm.
And I think one of the reasons is because it's so blisteringly hot. It was
Yeah.
around mid 90s
And
when I was
humidity
there and
too. Was it
totally
humid?
humid.
Yeah.
So you really can't have something heavy on your head, but you definitely need it to block from the sun's intense rays.
Hmm.
So anyway, this is where we
Wow.
are
And
today. My
it
trip was
fits you.
amazing.
It fits you well.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Richie,
Right.
we
Well,
have something to.
welcome back. Welcome back to
Oh,
America. Welcome back to San Francisco. And it's great to have
yes,
you back here on
thank you.
the podcast. Really San Francisco. Okay, so we have a couple more topics to talk about. Now, yesterday afternoon, you and I attended a talk, a gathering sponsored by a division of the Switzerland, the Swiss government, and the name of this organization is called SwissNex, and they are online. Swiss Next, you can find out who they are and what they do and what they sponsor and who they bring in and the kind of gatherings that they host. And it's a pretty good organization. Years ago, I've been more involved with just seeing what's up because they try to showcase their wares. They try and showcase their talent and their people and their upcoming students and business leaders of Switzerland. And there are various locations around the globe that have these installations of Swiss Next offices. So, but before we got to that event, which was in held in the Mission on what was it 16th and Mission, which was
No,
in Manny's. That's
Valencia.
Manny. I'm sorry. Yes, Valencia and 16th,
Mhm.
one block over. So you actually didn't drive or take public transportation or an Uber to get to Manny's. You walked. And I know that's one of the things that you love to do is to walk through parts of the city so that way you could see what's happening right there with your own eyes, your own ears, your own nose, and see what's happening. So you walked from northern areas of San Francisco around Nob Hill, Russian Hill, all the way to this part of the mission. So what what did you see? What did you encounter in your walk?
Well, it's something that I absolutely love doing. It's San Francisco is a walkable city, despite the hills. We can get from one end to the other. It takes about an hour. But it's a beautiful walk. Well, parts of it are beautiful. But I went down Hyde Street and then I went to Mid Market, which takes right under Mid Market. And
Hmm.
by the way, on Mid Market, and for people who aren't from San Francisco and you're listening from other parts of the world, Mid Market has been problematic for a long time. It is a stretch of Market Street that used to be super vibrant and active and tons of cars and tons of
Yep. There was
businesses. And
businesses and cafes, restaurants
yeah,
and theaters and just offices and retail shops all along there. Yep.
right, right. And one of the most beautiful old hotels called the Whitcomb, which it's actually served City Hall for decades, and it's just stunning. It's fallen to ruin. It became
Uh,
a homeless hotel for a long time, but it's enormous. So, but it also had the area was also home to X, to Twitter when it was
mhm.
there. And
Yeah, the famous
I
the Twitter building, the Twitter headquarters was right there
that
at Market and I think that's 10th.
that's right. And
Yeah.
IKEA and
Yeah.
various hotels and really kind of cute eateries. Sam's is there, but. I always kind of hold my breath because I'm thinking, what am I going to see at mid-market? But I must say, mid-market looked pretty good. There were a lot of people there, normal people in terms of just workers and residents instead of people who were just out of their minds. So that was really nice. But
What
but
time was
when
this at? This was in the later
yeah,
afternoon,
it was
around
around
5,
yeah,
5:30, somewhere around there,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Right, right. So, and then also it's today is Thursday, so it was on a Wednesday.
Hmm.
Okay, so um, get to Mission, get to 16th and Mission.
Famous 16th and Mission Bart.
Famous. Before I went there, I went to 15th and Julian, which is where the Gubbio Project is located, which is a place, a sacred sleeping place, eatery, whatever you want to call it, for
Nonprofit.
nonprofit organization. Lydia Branson is the CEO, hugely problematic, has destroyed the neighborhood. I don't, whatever you want to, euphemism you want to use for this, it
Mhm.
has destroyed the neighborhood. It is vile.
Mhm.
Nothing has gotten better. It is, I, there were so many people using drugs right in front of this so-called shelter.
Mhm.
So many people are flat on their faces. It smelled repulsive.
Ugh.
It smelled like weeks and months of fecal matter had been driven into
Accumulated crap. Yeah.
urine.
Yeah.
Yes, it was extraordinarily bad, and my heart broke for. Sorry, I'm not. My heart is not currently breaking for the people who do that to the neighborhood because these are a lot of them are senior citizens, working class people who are trying to live in their neighborhood, and it
Mhm.
is so destructive. So it really was really horrible to see. There's a new good neighbor policy going into effect in
Yeah.
January. You and I are going to be
Hmm.
talking
Yeah.
about that.
That we'll
But
talk
right
about that in the,
now,
yeah. Right now they're
good
not good
neighbor.
at all. They're barely
No,
even neighbors. They're I
no,
mean not
they're
they're
not.
not neighborly and they're not good.
They're the neighbors you don't want.
Yeah.
They are the neighbors you want to get rid of. Okay,
Hmm.
so
Yep.
it was horrible. Then I went to 16th and Mission, which is home to the most active, crazy drug market,
Hmm.
stolen
Stolen
goods
goods.
market.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a freaking bedlam.
So
It's
it has
nuts.
so it hasn't gone away. It hasn't been
No,
alleviated. It hasn't been reduced. It hasn't been reined in. It is still there.
chaos. It is absolute chaos. It's, you name it, it's happening there. But who do I see 5 minutes into standing on the corner and kind of just looking around? None other than our own JJ Smith. Yeah, so he was
JJ.
there. We
Shout
said
out to
hello and
JJ.
shout
Yeah.
out to JJ. He was
Yeah.
super active. You want to find him on Twitter, you can, or X, you can certainly find him. He's all over the place.
And if people don't know this gentleman, he's been around here
Mhm.
for a long time in the city,
Yes.
and he is one of the masters of recording, capturing video
Hmm.
at all hours of the day and night from his bicycle, where he goes
Yes.
up and down into the worst parts of San Francisco and records the drug dealers, the addicts, and things happening like right as they happen, and then posts
Yes.
them.
And which is really important because this is what we're going to be leading into the next portion of our discussion, which is about AI versus real reporters.
Hmm.
And standing there talking to JJ and seeing somebody come up and they offered him, I think they look like sort of car mats that you would put on the bottom of your
Under your feet inside the
under
car.
your feet. Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
he had a bunch of them. This guy who's out of his mind. But he came up to JJ, he's like holding them in front of his head. There must have been about six of them, so they must have been really heavy. And JJ sort of waved him away and he meandered on down the street. But meanwhile, there was everything for sale. I saw diapers, I saw meat, I saw
Meat.
tools. I saw quite a bit
Ugh.
of meat right out in the open. And then came the Mission Police, SFPD,
Ah,
mission statement,
mission station. Yeah.
station.
Hmm.
And suddenly there were like 10 officers there. And when that happens, people sort of break up. You can really feel it. It's kind of like throwing a rock into a river, and you can see the ripples.
So
And
was it a slow moving away, or was it like
yeah,
a panic, like
not
the
panic,
cockroaches just like all scatter really fast?
not panic, but it was definitely a
Let's move on.
let's move on. Okay, so to be able to stand there and observe and talk to the police officers and and listen to the guy behind me who's screaming about racism because the one of the officers who actually appeared to be Latina,
Mhm.
she stopped a young guy on a bike, and they were kind of focusing on bike riders, which was really interesting. But while I was there, I think what was really key here is you have to be there. You have to see it, feel it, smell it, talk. You have to ask the questions. You've got to hear what's going on. You absorb all that information and you have to be curious. You have to ask. You have to go a little further, a little deeper. And that only comes from physically
Mhm.
being at a location, but having some background too, having some knowledge about a place.
Mhm.
It, I can't speak about Panama any deeper than I could about a food that I've tried for the first time.
Mhm.
I can say it's delicious or not delicious, but I don't know if it's going to be consistently delicious at that particular restaurant. So
Mhm.
it's you. So that's why when we went to Manny's and you and I met there,
Mhm.
um, it was an interesting discussion
Mhm.
and it was all about how AI is influencing newsrooms and reporters and media in general and
Mhm.
trust. And it was so telling to me to go from a
The,
physical location,
the reality of what's
the
happening there out
reality.
on the street at 16th and Mission, which has been
Mhm.
problematic, as have been other areas of San Francisco, other hotspots, that this encompasses, this is emblematic, the 16th and Mission, of the abject failure of what City Hall administration and the nonprofits that they give unaccountably, it seems, you know, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of taxpayers' money to these nonprofits to do what they're supposed to do, yet there is what looks like no accountability, no threat to shut off and cut off, and the result is what you saw, and the result is what we see often whenever we go
Right.
through a lot of these affected neighborhoods in San Francisco.
And as reporters, whatever kind of reporter you are, you want to be a citizen journalist. I think that J.J. Smith might be considered a citizen journalist or a trained journalist, somebody who's went to J school, or, been in the field for a long time. The point is you have to understand where you are. You need to know it. You need to ask the right questions, and you need to be physically present.
Hmm. Boots
So
on the ground,
boots on the
talking to
ground.
people, asking, inquiring, right, and taking notes and maybe photographs, video, audio,
Right.
and see for yourself what's going on, what's happening, and ask the questions using your brain, your ears and eyes, and as I said before, maybe your nose, if so, and and get the answers that way. Yeah.
And on top of that, right, you have to be prepared for surprises
Hmm.
because anything could happen at any moment,
Hmm.
which brings us to AI. So
Yeah.
the panel, there was somebody
So
from
so yeah,
FFA.
so at Manny's, we
Mhm.
went. So that's where you walked to, and I was already there, and you arrived. It was held at Manny's at 16th and Valencia. So
Mhm.
this was the event that was sponsored by SwissNex, and we're giving a shout out to SwissNex again. And the topic was AI and journalism, right? So there were a couple of first introductory individuals that happened, as you noticed, that they were all women for whatever reason, that were from Switzerland that came to visit San Francisco, sponsored by SwissNex, where they were doing things like learning about AI tools, things like that, where each one got up for just a minute or two, introduced themselves, and just said what they thought, what they learned, what they like, thanking the sponsors, thanking the audience, and then handing the mic off to the next person. So then the moderator came out and brought up three individuals. So there were four on stage to discuss. The topic was AI and journalism, or AI in journalism, trust, and things like that. So what did you see, or what are your impressions?
So I'm gonna have to. Okay, it was the editor in chief for SF
Yep, Marek.
Um,
Yeah, last
mhm.
name Marek.
There was gentleman from Stanford,
Yep.
and his entire his focus is
Hmm.
AI and journalism. It sounds like,
Hmm.
and I'm sorry, I can't remember everyone's names. And then
Yeah.
there was a woman. Was she from Berkeley?
I think so. Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
her focus was on trust
Mm.
and media,
Mm.
right? And so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's actually relatively unimportant who these people are, 'cause to me, it's more about the
Oh,
topic.
but
It was just a
they'll
good
be upset
question.
if you say, "Oh, you're not important."
Well, it doesn't matter. They're doing just fine, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
No,
think
but it's
the
what they
issues.
represent, what they research, their specialty, and what they represent. Yeah,
So for me, it felt very much removed from reality.
yeah,
AI can be a great tool. Everyone acknowledged that it can be a great tool. You can gather data. You can, the gentleman from SF Gate, Grant, his first name was,
yeah.
he
Marek.
was saying, right, he was saying that they have this AI program that they use in order to get transcripts from meetings throughout the United States, right? So that
I think it was
they
called,
don't
was
have
it
to,
assembly?
yeah,
Yeah, it was
assembly. So
called assemblies. That's what they use. And yeah, you're right. And what I think he was emphasizing is
mhm,
how now SF Gate has a newsroom of 60 individuals that work under SF Gate to scour the news, and some are located in the Bay Area, some are across other parts of the country, I think it was, right?
right,
Where it would be impossible for an organization of that size to be able to have representatives in every city council meeting, every other kind of meeting, to be able to listen in. So, what they're able to do with AI is use AI to then log in, get transcripts, to be in place of a
hmm
person that was there taking notes and listening in. And that's what assembly does, and that's what they use. And he was, I think, ecstatic about the results of being able to multiply the reach of SF
yeah,
Gate astronomically.
yeah, and I think that that certainly makes sense, and I can understand why it is so appealing. I do want to mention that there's a big difference between being at a meeting and listening to a meeting and getting a transcript to a meeting. You lose a lot in that process.
Yeah,
Now,
and
you still
if you're
can
not
get
there,
that.
you're not there to feel sentiment. I mean, a person is, AI is not able to feel sentiment and to read the room,
Right,
and can't ask questions,
right.
right?
So having sat in countless Board of Supervisors meetings and being there is a very different experience than reading the transcript or even just listening to it because you get to see who's leaning toward who,
Hmm.
right? And having a separate conversation that's not being recorded, but it does make you question, what are they asking? What's going on? And you can start to put two and two together in a different way than you would by just strictly listening or reading the transcript. So I think that's really important too. I'm not saying there's not usefulness to it. There is, but there is a certain
Hmm.
nuance that is definitely lost.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. Um, Richie, what was your impression? I mean, did you think
Well,
that what they were talking about? Yeah,
the moment this little talk um, finished up and we left, we immediately launched into what were our impressions, right? And I said, and I'm not saying this as a derogatory slam towards any people or culture or whatever, but I have spent a lot of time traveling in Europe in the last 30 years, 25 years. And one thing that I have noticed is the desire for a lot of people from Switzerland, Germany, France to be really highly educated. They love doing the undergrad work, the postgraduate work, working for as a fellow of some other foundation and all of this. So they love racking up a lot of the titles and accolades. But that is book smart. That is people who are academic, right? We use the word very academic, came up a few times in our evaluation, and that is what I still think that the people who were there were not so much experienced in knowing and learning and using AI in some sort, but they were just talking about AI, not knowing what its implications are, not knowing what a shortfall are and shortcomings. And that's what I found to be most interesting because over these years, I've met individuals that just love talking about where they studied, and that just came out in this. So one of the people who was on stage last night before the whole discussion, the panel discussion, she stood up, held the microphone, was very nervous. You could see the microphone was shaking in her hand. She was only there for 1 minute, and she was clearly nervous and uncomfortable of talking in front of how many people do you think were there? Maybe 30, 30, 35. Not a 3,500 or 35,000. It was just 30 people. So she said that she came here, she met with people and learned about tools, AI tools, and how she's really excited to now be able to use AI to schedule, to plan and schedule her day. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, but still, that is AI journalism. That is such a rudimentary use because that is what many of these individuals think AI could be used for because they haven't really sat down and lived it and learned it and used it and understood how much bigger, how much more invasive AI is and can be.
Right.
You know,
Well, I that was an interesting point that she brought up, but then it was also uh, what was also discussed was the problem of AI written news stories,
right, and that
and people
right.
react very negatively to that. And they apparently has been tried. I know it's been tried. You know it has, and it
And you can see it.
immediately
You could tell when something's been AI written, generated, and a lot of
right.
it looks like gobbledygook, you know?
It does, and it's no matter how they do it, it feels false. It feels wrong,
Mhm.
and it's been pretty much abandoned by
Mhm.
most newsrooms, which is great. I'm glad. But it is really to me it was very interesting to feel to hear them say that they tried it, they retracted it, it eroded trust, and we're
Mhm.
nothing without trust.
Mhm.
Right? People have got to believe that even if you do have an opinion, Richie Greenberg,
Mhm.
that it's going to be based in some kind of
Yeah,
reality, right?
right.
And that it's coming from you, that it's not coming from some large language model, right?
Mhm.
That it's not an amalgamation of whatever that's out there, that it's coming literally from Richie Greenberg, right?
It is coming
So,
from me. Your opinion is
mhm,
coming from you. It's not AI generated. We are real people. You can see us right here. You can actually meet us when we're out on the street, and that happens all the time, Erica. You know, we're in a cafe, we're at some event, we're at some opening, ribbon cutting, and people come up and they say,
mhm,
"Hey, are you Richie? Are you Erica?"
yeah.
And yeah, we are real people with real opinions.
And it goes so much deeper
Analysis.
than that, right? It
Yeah.
goes so much deeper that it's not just opinion, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an amazing opinion writer.
Thank you.
If people out there, if you have not read Richie's opinion pieces, California Globe, New York Post, California Post, dude, they're great.
And here,
Um,
just on our on our
sure,
podcast also. But yeah, thank you
yeah,
very much. And also, you're a really
you're
great
welcome.
writer too. A little bit long form, longer form, thousands of words versus
Yeah.
with me, it's basically 700 is the maximum. But yeah,
Which
but you know
But yeah, but I
about
was going to say, but readers
yeah.
have to believe that you, Richie Greenberg, are speaking from the heart and speaking with knowledge,
Hmm.
right? That it's yours. So what happens when it's you kind of turn it all over to
Hmm.
an AI
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. Well, that's a not only good point, but the woman who was and I apologize. I wish we remembered her name, but she's from some like trust project or something.
Yes.
And that's important because for her and everyone, we need the trust. The trust in media, even before AI, was always an issue. And who is it that is providing the the background information to then be reported? Do we trust the whole chain of command per se? But the gentleman who was from Stanford, he made a very interesting point. He said that they have found through research that there are a lot of these the large language models and AI chatbots are being celebrated by many that they have an 80% accuracy rate, right? And we laughed and right? And even he laughed. He says,
I think
"How can
every
you
reporter
trust
laughs.
how can you say 80% is great? They're celebrating it, right? The creators, the programmers, 80%. Like, no, that means you're 20% wrong. And it could be as simple as like getting a temperature wrong or a forecast wrong to whole interpretations of policy wrong and facts wrong. And that's really problematic. But there were other discussions and Q&A after the panel uh, finished their talk. But from what I saw, from what I heard, is a lot of people are fearful that AI is going to take over journalists' jobs. And what do you think?
I've been through it. I've I'm a freelance reporter, and I have been through the layoffs. Uh, for me, it's not a layoff, but it's they no longer use freelancers. They're going to use AI programs instead. And guess what? They've come back.
Hmm.
So it's really, really interesting to see. I'm now very busy
Hmm.
because
Yep.
because we're
Me
back at
too.
the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I think there was a very eager approach to all this, like, wow, newsrooms can save a ton of money and just rely on these programs. And it didn't work. It didn't
Hmm.
work. So I think I understand. I still am dubious about what the future is for the big media outlets. But I
Hmm.
think it grows. The one business class I took in college, or one of the few, the best description I heard about not being fearful of change and a wipeout is this. Like, imagine a forest fire. It's horrible. It
Hmm.
definitely is tragic. It ruined it. It completely wipes out old growth forests and brush and animals die. But it doesn't take long before new shoots
Hmm.
start
That's
to
right.
come up.
Hmm.
And I think to me, that's what this feels like, is it's allowing new shoots to come up from the earth. And there's some exciting things happening. So I'm not going to weep. I don't care if some news organizations that I don't think have been very good anyway, if they if they suffer, bring
Hmm.
on the new, as long as it's quality. And I hate to use cliches, but cream does tend to rise.
Yeah.
And and
Hmm.
that to me is what trust is all about, because people know when you're not telling the truth. Ultimately, they're
Yeah.
going to figure it out.
Hmm.
And I'm so dedicated. If anything is my driving force, my North Star is I am not going to tell you something that I know is wrong. I could make a mistake.
Well,
Everyone
actually,
makes a
that, that
mistake.
that that's a good topic because the editor in chief from SF Gate, right, Mr. Marek, right, he said because this came up about when there are errors, when there's mistakes,
Mhm.
when there are slanders or other potential um, litigation, potential legal action because of what a publication says, right, or prints, that they need to really cover their tuchus. They need to be sure that what they print is accurate or as accurate as possible, not 80%, right? Um, that they still have lawyers on staff at SF Gate
Yeah.
to to go through all the copy editors to make sure that whatever it is that they print or post is accurate to cover CYA, cover your ass, right? So that is something that's really problematic as well, is that by making mistakes, and you know this, and I know this, that when we write something, we have to be absolutely sure that it's accurate and fact checked. And so there's fact checking all the time by us and even people just above us, the editors, to make sure that what we're writing is accurate. And
Exactly.
that's important. And this came up in several different ways at the panel last night. And I'm very glad that they came up because then there was also the woman from the Trust Project who was talking about how, with politics specifically, you have to ensure that things are presented accurately. And that's not really how all the politics works because you have freedom of speech, a way to frame things that is most politically advantageous so you can actually misrepresent things in political speech, and that is treated separately than accuracy. And that's a problem because then you have the political leanings, the slants, and the favoritism, and then the censorship and all of that, which is
Mhm.
allowed in politics. And this was another problem because I just saw even this morning there's a report that came out saying Apple News and Google, when they do their morning suggestions and curating of news stories, it's mostly left-leaning opinions, left-leaning viewpoints of news stories, not centrist, not moderate, not even right-leaning. So it's removing a whole segment of news reporting than what we're used to seeing,
Mhm.
and this is a problem. So Trust Project, the woman on stage, her view would be that is what we want to see, the curated. And like, no, we don't want to see curated because then you have the gatekeepers that say we don't want other viewpoints. We don't want a more moderate view. We only want the ones that apparently seem to be the most left wing.
Yeah, and I think you use a very good term, which is that curation.
Hmm.
And curation can be perfectly fine in some circumstances, but when there is a bias, then
Hmm.
it stops being fine. So
Yep.
yeah, and when it comes to AI and reporting and journalism, right? Being there is an important part of this process, right? You don't, there's a reason that people are sent to the front lines in a war, in a war
Hmm.
zone, right? It's because you have to have those eyewitnesses and
Hmm.
you have to have that. You have to have that sense. And you can't use data that comes from a program. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
bring this all back to 16th and Mission and then to go to
Great. It
the
was a great
Pacific Dome. Yeah.
juxtaposition to see it. And this is not, if for listeners and viewers, if you've been following us, you know that this is not the first time that this has happened. There
Right.
are many stories that you and I have had over the last year and a half or so that we've been doing the podcast that this happens all the time in San Francisco. There's hot spots. It goes neighborhood by neighborhood, and not even that far away. It could just be one block over that you have this situation that you were at 16th and Mission, and then one block over, 16th and Valencia,
Yeah.
where everything seems to be great. Mission is a problematic street. Valencia, not nearly as much.
Exactly. And when it comes to reporting on what's happening, right, that transition and the change and what's going on, I think we overcomplicate things when it comes to using AI or any other tool. Here's what needs to happen. You go, you observe, you ask the questions, you get the real story, really San Francisco, right? You find out what's happening and then you report on it.
Hmm.
It's as simple as baking a cake. You get the ingredients, you produce it. You don't need to have every fancy tool in the toolbox in order to produce that cake,
Didn't
right?
didn't you say that you met some people, young aspiring journalists
Mhm.
who were in in a situation or something, and they had some AI on their phone, and
Mhm.
they were wondering what they should ask someone about a topic. So they put in, what
Yes.
should I ask this? Like where's the brains? Where's the intuition? Where's the nuance? I don't get it.
Yeah. There's nothing like a great reporter or journalist who you can feel it when they're like doing an interview and they're asking those questions. And it's coming from a place that's very internal. It's
Mhm.
professional, but it's also who they are,
Mhm.
right? It's
Inquisitive. You have
very
to have
organic.
you have to
Yes,
have an inquisitive mind.
that's
Just
right.
ask questions.
That's right. And like my old college professor said, you know more about a person by their questions than by their answers. And that
It
is
could be
so
annoying.
true.
It's
That's
so
right.
annoying. God.
That's right. So it
Uh,
broke my heart a little bit to hear these young journalists
mhm.
say, "Yeah, I just have them prompt me with the questions that I'm going to
No,
ask." I'm
no,
like,
no. So
"Come
that's
on,
yeah. So
set it aside."
this was two different situations,
Yeah.
but it's AI basically.
It is. It is.
All right,
So
and yeah.
let's ask the viewers and the listeners, you all, what do
Mm,
you think
okay.
about the
Yeah.
integration of these programs into journalism? Do you trust these stories? Do you trust a reporter who is leaning too heavily? Oh, okay. Okay, that is the bias question. Who is
Uh,
leaning into these programs? What are your thoughts? We'd love
yeah.
to know.
You can comment below our video. You can also send either Erica or myself a direct message. We're on X, on Twitter, or also email us podcast at reallysfnews.com and we will get your message. Now, one last topic before we conclude today's episode. I don't know if this had anything to do with AI reporting, but I was recently asked just a couple of weeks ago to explain why San Francisco is now the nation's leader in apartment rental costs per month. It hit $6,000 per month for a two-bedroom apartment, average cost or median or whatever they term they were using. But regardless, it's a lot of money, and it overtook New York. And what are some possible reasons? And I explained, and you and I even talked about this after the fact yesterday, that a lot of it has to do with tech. A lot of it has to do with AI, bringing in AI, but AI jobs was what we're talking about. People want to come to the center of the universe of AI, which is here in San Francisco. This is where a lot of the the startups and other long-time companies are based. This is where they want to work. This is where they want to come to play and to live and to maybe party and go to restaurants and bars. I'm not too sure about that, but they want to be right here in the center. They don't want to be commuting. You don't want to have a half hour, 1 hour drive or public transportation to get to San Francisco. They want to just live right here. Supply and demand, a lot of demand, not enough supply. And so that's driving costs up because it's competition. They're competing to landlords. And indirectly, I think we saw that, or we said that whatever apartments that may be available out there could maybe even be second homes, investment homes of people that have more than one home, and those aren't available. And any new apartment buildings that might be under construction or have just been brought in to the pipeline are open and available. They're not necessarily going to be lowest of low income, and the developers, property owners, and landlords are going to want it to be a little bit higher cost to be able to recoup their construction costs and outlays. So for all those reasons, $6,000. a month was not so um, not understandable. I mean, does that summarize pretty much what
Yeah,
we? Yeah.
it
So,
definitely does. And yeah, right. It's the law of supply and demand, but it's
mhm,
also it's not that supply is necessarily short. It's there's just a lot of demand.
mhm.
And if you can charge a higher price, you
And
will charge a higher
competition. There
price.
were stories out there
Exactly.
of how these young kids were going in. They make a huge amount of money in their
Hmm.
jobs, and they would offer above what the monthly asking rent is to these landlords. So you want 5,000, I'll pay 6,000. So they're driving it up as well. But
It's almost as simple as that, right? If
yeah,
somebody will pay $6,000 for a one bedroom apartment, they
mhm,
will,
yeah,
then that will be the price
yeah, yeah,
because people will pay it.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily, oh my gosh, we need to build, build, build. That's
Because in this
somewhat
case,
irrelevant.
that won't help. In this case, it
Correct.
won't help unless there's some sort of mandated cap, and you can't do that. So, but to expand on this, what happened, and a couple of weeks ago when I was asked about this, is the phenomenon of the population movements that are happening in California. We are seeing over and over again, and this has been validated now by the Department of Finance and another agency, that California has lost up to 10,000 residents in the last year. People are
Mhm.
leaving California. The expense, insurance reasons, jobs, crime, other disasters. They're just sick of it, and the taxes and business regulation. So they're leaving. They're going elsewhere. I know a lot of them are going to Texas now. I think I saw that Texas is potentially going to overtake California in terms of economic power and population in the years. But San Francisco is bucking the trend. It showed that where San Francisco was at just under 900,000 right before COVID, the pandemic hit, 880,000, depends on the different source of population count, that we lost a lot. We took a big hit during COVID, and now it's coming not back, but it is coming back up again, not to that level, but we did see a 0.5% or something increase, whereas the rest of California was decreasing. So this is really interesting to see that people actually do, a few people anyway, a few thousand, they do want to come to San Francisco now.
Yes. Yeah. And there are pros and cons. More pros in my opinion. I am so happy. Great.
Mhm.
Come on in. I love it. The water is nice. Jump in.
And it's a
Um,
beautiful place. We keep talking about this, that yes, there
sure.
are hot spots, pockets all around the city that are gross, that are humanitarian disasters, that are just completely mismanaged and falling apart, and crime and homelessness, drug addiction, fentanyl, all of that. But the majority of San Francisco is not like that. No, and you're laughing. I know it's not like that at all. We have beautiful parks, we have the scenery, we've got bike paths, which I'm getting into now,
Yeah,
and the Golden Gate Bridge, the bay, the everything, and then also all the glitz and glamour and fun stuff that we like to do also. The
for
bar.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So yes, I think right now it's a victim of its own success. It is the place to be if you are in AI and related technology and anybody who follows that. This is it. We are now, you're in the nucleus, but you're going to pay. You have to pay
Yeah,
a
you're
lot
gonna
for it.
pay. Yeah.
So them's the breaks. This is what we have. The one thing I can say when it comes to San Francisco and the economy and what I wish, I'm really praying that somebody's going to figure out some sort of way out of this. You and I both love to go out to eat, and to
Mhm.
drink, and to enjoy all these wonderful things, but it is so crazy expensive. It's
It
really
has
putting
gone
a
up,
big
and yeah, I've talked
oh,
to people. I remember you have like pad thai, the pad thai baseline, right? It was just a few years ago, or a banh mi, right? A banh mi sandwich
or
would be
burrito.
6.99, seven ninety
Mhm.
nine. The other day we had pad thai. It was $20 from the same place,
Yes.
that we've
And
gone
I
to.
ask,
20.
yeah, you and I are feeling it. Everyone's feeling it. I ask Uber drivers and taxi drivers, what's the one thing that people complain the most about San Francisco? Oh, it's so expensive. Going out
Hmm.
to eat is so expensive. Yeah, it is. If somebody can figure out somehow, some way to get a
Hmm.
great restaurant, cafe, eatery that is truly affordable,
Hmm.
you'll have lines out the door.
Yeah.
You already have lines out the
Yeah.
door for certain places, but I just
Already.
really
But
wish
and
the
that's the problem
economics
too
would
with the
work out.
supply and demand and cost. There are a lot of people who just don't care how much it costs. And they'll get in
Yeah.
line and they'll
There are
stay in
some
line.
great deals.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a quick shout out to a place that is wildly successful. Butter and Crumble. Butter and Crumble. Butter and Crumble. It's a patisserie, and it's in the North Beach area in
Hmm.
Telegraph Hill. Lines out the door. In fact, it's so bad that the neighbors are getting really irritated. Um, but it's so good, and you get this huge croissant that's just delicious. It's very fancy. It's not your standard croissant, but it's like $6.
Hmm.
Trust me, it's worth every penny. So there are some good deals out there. That's a great deal. I cut it in thirds. Boy, you got it. You have plenty. But okay, so Richie,
The French would be cringing because they say it was croissants. You should
what?
never
That's
cut anything.
okay.
It's like you're slaughtering it. You don't
Mon
don't do
Dieu. So let's say, really, San Francisco, let's put the real back in
I think so.
really.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
AI is a tool, it is
That's right.
not the
That's
full
not
garden.
real. Yeah.
How's
All
that for an
right.
analogy?
All right.
All
Thanks a
right.
lot. Thanks everybody. And we look forward to the next fun episode.